Hello y'all, and welcome to YoungFolkKnits. If you're new here, my name is Casey, and on this channel I love to share all about fiber arts. So there's knitting, sewing, spinning, crochet, whatever I might be up to at the moment, and I also occasionally share about living on a small farm in Arkansas. So if any of that sounds like it might be your cup of tea, make sure and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future video content. You can also find me on Instagram at YoungFolk.knits and on Ravelry at YoungFolkKnits. It has been a month, y'all. It has been a month. So today's the first day of December, and I just have been feeling totally overwhelmed, even at the thought of this year almost being over. There's been so much going on this last month. I don't know. It has just been a month of stress. So my mom's mother, my grandmother, we call her Mimi. She turned 90 this month. She was one of the most unique and special people on this planet. There is literally no one else in the world like her. She just truly was such a unique person. She had a fall a few months ago, and ever since then, she has just progressively gotten a lot weaker. She lived such an exciting and adventurous life. She was a world traveler. I'm so happy that she got to spend her life doing that. But her quality of life had really decreased in the last few months. And this month, I think she just got really tired and decided she could not do it anymore. And we lost her this last week. So leading up to that point was a lot. And then actually losing her was also very sad. But I did get to be with her on the day that we lost her, and that made my heart happy. I told my grandma before she passed away that the most wonderful gift that she ever gave me was my mom. My mom is literally the best mom on the planet. Sorry, all of y'all out there, but she wins the trophy. She wins the award. I love my mom. I remember growing up, like, all my friends were fighting with their moms and they had problems with their moms. And I really didn't understand. I didn't understand what it was like. I could not relate because my mom is amazing, and I hate it, and it hurts my heart that everybody doesn't get to experience having a mom like that. It's really a privilege that I do not take for granted, and I appreciate it every single day. So I have to always really be thankful to my grandmother and my grandfather that they gave that person to me. She's so special. And of course, she's heartbroken about losing her mama. Unfortunately, these things are life. Just all doing the best we can everywhere around the world. We're all just doing the best we can. I try really hard to keep this channel positive and not be a Debbie Downer. I try to focus on the positive things. I don't chat much about anything too personal or too negative, mostly. But I haven't gotten a lot of progress done, and that's okay. I was really stressed out about a lot of different things. I had multiple deadlines. That happens to all of us. Unexpected things come up. You know, that's life. We got to do what we can do. But it has also made me think a lot about all of my commitments. And I feel like I have a huge problem with overcommitting myself. I don't like to tell people no, for one thing. I am afraid I'm going to hurt people's feelings. So it's very hard for me to turn things down. Designers or yarn companies are going to think it's because I don't want to use their yarn, or I don't want to test their patterns, or different things like that. Because I always want to. And so because of that, the people pleaser in me does not always respect my limitations. But I'm just being transparent with everyone. I do think that I can make wiser choices and try to return my making to being a little bit more mindful. And as I said, I'm not placing blame on anyone except squarely at my own feet. I'm not always a very smart person. Spacey Casey over here. Okay, how many of you just unsubscribed? Let's move on to some actual projects that did happen this month, and also what I'm wearing. This is my Harlow sweater that I test knit for Sabina of Kadri, I don't know, a few years ago now. And I knitted up using the Sonder Morning DK. I think that might have been my first experience with Sonder Morning DK, and it began a beautiful relationship as being one of my favorite yarns. As many of you OG viewers will know, I absolutely love Sonder yarn. This is a BFL Massam mix, and BFL is just, there's something very special about BFL. It's a lovely, lovely wool. It has some sheen to it. It's so luxurious. And a BFL Massam mix, I mean, it is the epitome of a lovely woolly yarn. It's very much what I think of as a British woolly yarn. It does have a little bit of texture to it. I feel a little bit around my neck, but it doesn't bother me. I do think that in the past years, before I had kind of grown a little bit of tolerance to wool, I might have noticed it even more. But I also think the more you knit with these yarns, the more you grow used to it and sort of build your tolerance for it. This does have a pretty high collar, and I think that you could have done a folded collar, and that would definitely decrease the amount of wool that's touching your neck. But I really like a sort of mock neck top. I really like a mock neck collar, and I thought that this looked really fun, so I left it. And I am also wearing the Grid Gambit cowl, which was released by Samantha Guerin this last week. I love this so much. I know I have shared about it before, but this is knit out of one skein of Newburgh Yarn Co., their DK weight base in the color Adirondack Haze, and then it's got one skein of my handspun in it, which was a one-off colorway. It wasn't a club colorway. It was just a one-off color that I got when she had put it up one day on the website, and I don't even think I used half of my skein. So this was supposed to be a sport to DK weight handspun, and I used a fingering to sport instead, so I had quite a bit of yardage, but I really love how it turned out. I'm so pleased with it. Now, originally I had done what I have done with many of my cowls that are knit on the bias and then sewn together in the back. I only sewed it together on the top half so that it could lay a little bit flatter. And in the end, I decided to go back with this one because I feel like it was maybe just a little bit bigger than some of the other ones I have made. The neck opening was perfect for me. The amount of width this way was really nice, and it laid really nicely. And that might be because of the superwash that I used. The DK superwash yarn from Newburgh Yarn Co. did grow with blocking, as all superwash yarns do. In the end, I felt like I wanted to sew up a little bit more. So I went back and I sewed it up almost to the end. I just left a very tiny bit at the end so that it could flare just enough, like maybe that much at the end. What is that? Not even an inch, 3/4 of an inch or less, half an inch. So that the end could kind of set still a little bit better. And I'm very happy with it. I think that it fits even better now that I did that. Now with Andrea Mowry's cowls, I feel like her gauge is a little bit tighter, and the cowls sometimes are a little bit smaller than this one. So on those, I definitely prefer to leave part of it unsewn. But I am so happy with how this turned out. I feel like I'm going to wear it all the time, and I'm making another one because I love it. It's perfect. The gauge was so nice on my hands. I just love everything about it. So highly recommend if you want to grab this pattern up. I feel like it will be a fabulous make for yourself. It's going to be a great pattern to have in your library for gift knits. Making the same pattern again is not usually high on my priority list, but I can say that I'm planning on making this again. I've already got the yarn for it. I've got the hand spun ready. So yeah, I love it. And if you are a spinner, I think that Samantha and the Botanical Knitter here on YouTube, they are hosting a knit and spin along where they're trading hand spun with a exchange partner in the knitting this cowl together. So if you think that would be fun, I would definitely check that out. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. Before we jump into all the yarny goodness though, I'd like to give a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is actually the largest online learning community for creatives like us. It has such a wide breadth and depth of topics that whatever you're interested in learning about, there is a class for you. Like most of you, I am multi-craftual and I love learning new things. While knitting is one of my greatest loves, sewing is another passion of mine, and Skillshare has a wonderful library of classes. Not only do they have these individual classes, but they actually have curated learning paths, which take you on a journey from beginner to mastering the craft. One of my favorite learning paths is called Sew Custom Clothing from Scratch. It takes you through 5 different classes, starting with foundational sewing skills, sew a zippered bag from scratch, then sew your own clothes, use sewing patterns like a pro, followed by more in-depth classes where you learn skills like clothing design, using print fabrics, and making made-to-measure clothes. By the time you've completed the learning path, you've got skills. Not to mention that the community itself on Skillshare is great. You can post your projects for each class and you can get input and inspiration for your next project. So whatever your interest might be, photography, creative writing, illustration, design, music, web development, sewing, knitting, crochet, there's a class for you. There are going to be expert instructors and a great community to help you hone these skills. And that's why I'm so excited to partner again this month with Skillshare. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a 1-month free premium trial to Skillshare. So choose your topic and you can get started today. Thanks again, Skillshare, for sponsoring today's video. So let's take a little look at the things I have been up to. Okay, another finished object that I have from this month is a new hat, which is released by Andrea Mowry. And it is a lovely squishy brioche hat. It's basically her Harlow hat, only in a bulky weight gauge. So this is knit using Spin Cycle Plump, which is a bulky weight gauge yarn, just like the Dream State and Dyed in the Wool, only the thicker plies. And I used the color Ghost Ranch. Now, Andrea Mowry in her sample used 2 different colors of the Plump base, but I did not do that. I only used 1 color of the Spin Cycle Plump, and then I used 1 color of the Farmer's Daughter Fiber bulky weight yarn. So I have 1 color shifting yarn and 1, I don't have the ends woven at the top. I've got 1 plain solid. Now it's made to be reversible, and you can wear it on either side. You can wear it on both sides. You do a 2-color cast on. It's like a tubular cast on, but you're using 2 different colors, and that makes it reversible. It makes both sides work, and both sides have the correct yarn for that tubular look. Now, brioche is one of my favorite stitch patterns. I actually like working brioche better than I do cables, better than I do lace, for sure better than I do color work. The only thing about brioche, it's a little bit of a slog time-wise. It takes what feels like double the amount of time to complete it. So that sometimes holds me back from doing as many brioche projects just because of the time issue. But I love the motions of brioche, and this hat was a lot of fun to make. As always, I think Andrea is a fabulous designer, but her gauge is so much tighter than mine that it is very difficult for me to hit gauge. I always have to go down multiple needle sizes. I'm like, Andrea, how stressed are you? What do we need to do to get your gauge loosened up here? Or I guess my anxiety medication just works too good because my gauge is so loose. It is so hard for me to get gauge with multiple designers. Sari Nordland is the only person who I match gauge with always on every pattern. I can swatch with whatever needle she uses, and it's like we have the exact same gauge, and that's very rare for me. What is her name? I'm sleep deprived a little bit and my brain is not working. Anyway, the designer from Caitlin Hunter, the designer from Boyland Knitworks, also I can match gauge with. So I guess she must be a very loose knitter as well. Anyway, this is the hat. It's a pretty quick knit. Here it is on. It turned out very big. So I will just say, you might consider making a size small. I have a very big head and this is a lot. The brioche just stretches so much that I feel like even with the smaller size, it will stretch to accommodate whatever size head you have, unless you have a melon for a head, which I almost do. It's just very stretchy and forgiving. Great quick gift knit pattern too, I think. Super fast. Keep your head warm. And I love the stripes that you get from either handspun or spin cycle. It's just so cute. So this is how much I have left of my bulky weight skein. I only used one skein of the bulky weight and I used one skein of the plump. And I had plenty left over. So I don't think it matters what size you make. So I actually tested the small size for my child, but I ended up knitting a second one in the second size, and this is my yarn that's left over from that. So I really like this. It's just pretty fun. And I tested it with a bunch of my girls, so that was always fun. Okay, moving along here. I don't even know. I'm not even sure where to look next. So another test knit that I think is fabulous, absolutely loving this, knitting with Sonder Sport Luxe Base. I'm trying to hurry up and get this finished. I'm working on the shoulders and then I need to whip the sleeves out. But this yarn is so nice on my hands, which I really appreciate. And this is a mosaic pattern. So it's not that I'm ever holding two different colors to work color work with. And that's really nice. But it is for sure taking up the majority of my time and needs most of my time because it's due now and I need to finish it. As I mentioned earlier, I am using the Sonder Yarn Co. Sunday Morning Luxe Sport. So this is a 65% BFL, 25% Masham, and 10% cashmere. It's really lovely. It has a nice loft to it. I think this is a 3-ply. So this would be really nice for stockinette, for the mosaic that I'm doing, for color work, for cables. This is Into the Woods, and then this one is Take a Hike. So those are the two colors I paired together for that test knit, and I will hopefully be able to share a finished object with you from that very soon. In other news, I was slightly manic this month, and I just felt like I could not really work on any of my projects. I don't know what it was. Well, I do know what it was. I was slightly manic this month. And so, whenever Manos del Uraguay sent me their new Ideal base, which is 100% Polworth wool, I was so excited to try this out. So they did give this to me, and it is a worsted weight base. It is 219 yards for 100 gram skein, and it recommends a 17 to 19 stitch gauge. It also recommends knitting this up on US 7 to 9 needles, or 4.5 to 5.5 millimeter needles. So this is the color Coal, and it's a deep charcoal gray color, and I don't really have much of anything knit up in this, so that's why I chose this color. And I got 4 skeins of this to use in a cowl. I have really been drawn to some different patterns by Gujo Knits, and I decided that I have a lot of sweaters and I need to start diversifying my makes a little bit more to make them that much more useful to add into my wardrobe. They'll be worn more. It won't just be another sweater in my pile of sweaters that I love more than anything, but I do have a lot of them. So I'm very interested in trying to diversify my makes. Because of that, I chose to cast on the, what's it called? Gujo pullover. My internet is very slow. Okay. The Gujo Collar. The Gujo Collar. Totally different name. Completely different pronunciation. Not even the right spelling. Let's switch those vowels around. Okay. So, this is a really fun collar dicky cowl design from YoungFolkKnits, and it calls for, I don't know, maybe a bulky weight or Aran weight yarn, but it calls for an 18 stitch gauge and a US 7 needle in half fisherman's rib. So at first I thought that this was actually a brioche cowl before I bought the pattern. I feel like maybe even on Ravelry it might have said brioche, or else I just assumed that it was. Anyway, I did not realize that it was half fisherman's rib. But I love, love, love this pattern so much. I think it looks so classy. Very modern though, and very chic, and very warm, and very Scandinavian. And I love that big, wide open neck. I think the construction is very interesting as well. I like that. I think it would keep you engaged. But also, for the first bit of length here, all you're doing is knitting a tube of half fisherman's rib. And then you're going to work it the front and back. Now, I like half fisherman's rib, but sometimes my hands mutiny just a little bit, and I have to be careful. So as you can see, I've only worked this much of it. Thankfully, this is 100% wool, but I do have to be careful and not overwork it for too long of a time period and one setting. But the squish factor of half fisherman's rib is out of this world. It's so squishy, I cannot even tell you. I am very excited to give this yarn a go. Polworth is something I really love. I love to spin with it. It's one of my favorite fibers to spin with. And I do not have any fully finished projects from 100% Polworth yarn. So this is very exciting to me. I can't really give you a true yarn analysis until I've finished the project. I block it and I wear it, but as of right now, I really do love it. It does have some spring to it. It's very soft. This is a very, very soft wool, and there is no itchiness to it at all. It's just absolutely silky smooth and lovely. So far I'm happy with it. I will absolutely let you know how that goes. This is not on a time crunch. I'm going to knit this as I can and as I feel like it. And this has been a great project to take with me because I don't have to follow a pattern right now. I just know that I'm working rounds 1 and 2 of half fisherman's rib over and over and over in the round, which means that I'm actually knitting an entire round, and then I am knitting one and purling one below. So I do those 2 rounds over and over and over again, and that's very simple to memorize, obviously, and it's nice to not have to worry about where I'm at. You can immediately tell if you're on a knit row or a purl one below row, because you can see, did that last stitch have 2 strands of the purl on the purl stitch, or is this the row where I'm making it so? So that's a very nice project to have in the background. Obviously haven't made much progress. It is a little bit of a slog knitting half fisherman's rib, but to me, the squishy fabric you get is so worth it. And I think that that dark color is going to look really nice underneath my coats and as a really lovely cowl to wear. Also, it won't be too tight around my neck. In another moment of pure manic stress, I cast on the Eurus Slipover, which is another pattern by YoungFolkKnits. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to make, so I cast them both on. This was just a day's, an evening's worth of knitting. And this is using Daylight's yarn by Harrisville. So this is an American Cormo yarn. It is which one is this? 826 is the colorway that this Daylights one is. Cormo is a really nice yarn. It's very soft and squishy, and it's like it's a sheep that is basically a blend of Corriedale and Merino. So you have some really nice properties that you get from both of those sheep. And I love the resulting wool that you can get, but it's very soft. I also like the soft tweediness in this, and I think that the soft tweedy bits, it's not too much, and I like that in a cabled pattern. I still want the cables to be able to stand out. I don't want the tweed bits to be too overwhelming, and I think that it shows just absolutely perfectly in this. Now this pattern did call for maybe an Aran or worsted weight yarn, but I looked at the yardage of the yarn suggested, and to me that really was definitely not an Aran weight yarn. And I was chatting with Jackie. She has made the Eurus Slipover. No, and so she didn't make the slipover, but she made the sweater, which is the same design, just in a pullover instead of a vest. And she said that she really thought that a DK weight yarn would have made a better gauge, a better fabric, especially for me and what I like. And she knows me, and she was 100% correct. I'm so glad that I went with the DK weight. And I think I'm making the size 3. I'll have to look. There's not a lot of size options. There is a large spread of, you know, from the smallest size to the largest size, but each size encapsulates a lot. There's only like maybe 4 or 5 sizes total, and I think I'm making the 3rd size. So again, I don't even know when I'm going to get to work on this. It was one night's worth of knitting that I really just wanted to knit on some cables, and I just wanted to see if I liked it, and that was basically my gauge swatch. Even though I had started the pattern, it just pretty much was my gauge swatch. So I did the first sections. You work that in sections, and I thought one thing that would be really nice is even just to have it, and if I want to do one section this month, one section next month, that's fine, and I'll have it done someday. My other projects have not been abandoned. I've just slightly disassociated from everything because I'm probably stressing all of y'all out. You're probably all trying to disassociate from this episode. Yeah, fun times. There's just so many things that I want to make and not enough time. Last but not least, I do want to show my progress on my Apollonis pullover, which I am knitting as part of the Softly Cal that I am co-hosting with Sari Nordland. So we're all just picking a pattern from her book, Softly, and we're knitting on one of those patterns for the knit along. She is also knitting on this pattern, but she's actually writing a DK weight version of this pullover. I am knitting the one straight from the book. So this is an Aran weight gauge, and I am using Camellia Fiber Co. Serene Aran yarn. So it's a multi-ply merino wool, non-superwash. It's soft as silk. It's really lovely. It's got great stitch definition, and I'm using the color Moonflower, which I think might be the undyed version, but either that or it's their cream color that they dye over, but it's absolutely lovely. It's a circular yoke, and it has a really fun stockinette few rows, which create a nice rolled portion at the top of the collar, and then it goes into the ribbing. Then you start your circular yoke increases, and the rest is just all stockinette from there. So it's a really nice comforting knit. I did split for sleeves, and I'm like 1.5 inches into the body. I need to wind up some more skeins. I did not wind up all of them, and I should have before I started, but I need to wind up so I can add another ball of yarn on and keep working. But this is really enjoyable, and it's knit on whatever you need to obtain gauge, but it's recommended to knit on a US 10 or 6mm needle, and that is what I am using. So this is a very fun project, and you still have plenty of time to join the Softly Cal. We have a thread on Ravelry. I will link that in the description. And you can also post on Instagram and use the hashtag SoftlyCal and tag Sorry and Die in it so we can see what you're working on. I did want to share a new acquisition and a new book. So first of all is a new book that I received from Charlotte Stone, who is one of my absolute favorite Colorwork sock designers. She's like the queen of Colorwork socks, and she has one book that she has already released, and this is her second one. This was very kindly gifted. I wanted to show you my favorite pattern from it and what I want to make so badly. The first one is the Whoops-a-Daisy pattern. So is that not just the cutest floral sock pattern? It's so fun. It's so beautiful. And I even think if you didn't want to do a full sock, it would be really cute to just do the the leg, or even just a little cuff of maybe like 2 rows of the flowers. If you didn't want to do any more of the color work, that's fine. You could do the rest of the sock and stockinette, but I think it's a really cute all over pattern. I love that in her book she has some really great tips and techniques. So you can learn a lot about sock knitting from her and from her book. I also love this carrot design. I'm all about the veggies. I think it's so cute. And they're all kind of separated into different categories by their design and how you would classify it, like plants or pets in the garden, let's party, home for the holidays, it's not just a hobby. So there's some really fun different designs in here. I think this one is so cute. Fancy a cuppa, and it's got a teapot and teacups. I have my tea every single day, and so I love that. So thank you so much for the book, Charlotte, and I cannot wait to get sock knitting. Another thing I was so excited about is that Jane from Rose and the Wren, she makes some beautiful, beautiful project bags. And she had put up an in-stock, ready-to-ship order of these gorgeous mountain bags, and they sold out in like a few seconds, and I could not get one. But I loved it so much. And so she very kindly let me know whenever she was going to be able to let me pre-order one. And so I was able to do that, and I just want y'all to look at this, okay? I just want y'all to look at this. It's so amazing. It's so beautiful. I mean, look at this. And there's even embroidery. I love the colors. I love everything about this. Okay, my entire family is at home in the room behind me, and I'm sure that you can hear just total chaos. And I do apologize. I just realized, I hope that my cowl wasn't rubbing against the microphone for that entire episode. Let's see. What have I been listening to? I just started the very first Shetland book, which is written by Anne Cleves. I've not listened to any of those books. I haven't read any of those books. I did enjoy the Shetland series. I think it's a beautiful place. I would love to visit one day. I love the accents and the culture. I think it's all very woolly. And the very first story or book that Anne Cleves wrote in the Shetland series is called Raven Black. And I am currently listening to that. I did just start it, so I'm not very far into it, but I enjoy the narrator, and I think that it is going to be an enjoyable listen. As far as what I have been watching, I really haven't been much. I haven't had time. I haven't been home. And I just also have gotten totally behind on all podcasts. Something, I don't know what it is, but whenever I get stressed out, I just feel like I can't commit to anything. So I'm very behind on everything, and I haven't even been watching any TV shows or movies. I have just been listening to audiobooks when I feel like it, and that is nice. I also feel like I've worked through all of the British TV shows. So I would really love it if you have a suggestion for a British mystery or a British comedy. Let me know. I feel like I've probably tried them all, but there's definitely a chance I've missed some, so please let me know in the comments. If you're a fellow Acorn TV BritBox fan, then you probably have some suggestions for me, and I need them. So lay them on me in the comments. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. I enjoyed having someone to chat to. If you enjoy videos like this, then make sure and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you're working on. You know, I always need new ideas so I can add to my queue. I really do love hearing what you're working on though, so let me know in the comments. And until next time, happy knitting, y'all.